Greetings, everybody. Great to see so many of you survived yesterday. For me, at least, yesterday was really nice, but also I did talk a lot. So if my voice is 2 octaves deeper than usual, it's because of that. So I'm going to be talking about Angry Birds and AI in practice. But before that, I would like to do a little bit of an intro to who I am. I feel like I gave a short version yesterday in those speed dating, speed networking things. But I'm Tatu Petersen-Jessen. I'm Senior Art Director at Rovio. I've been over 20 years in games. I think it's starting to be closer to 25 years. I have traditional arts background, and I've been working with digital art since 1990s. Yes, I'm that old. I've shipped 50 games, PC, mobile, web, consoles, so and so. And for the past 10 years, I've been at Rovio. And this is the mandatory Rovio slide. I promise that there's not going to be a lot of other of that. But for those who don't know Rovio, Rovio is a gaming company that was founded in 2003. Over 500 employees. Some pretty old data about our size of our business over there. And we are most known of our brand Angry Birds. And something that might have slipped from some people's noticed, we're now also part of Sega. We've been now 2 years part of Sega, and I think it's been awesome. And now that Red has also done his sound check, move on. So this is the structure of the talk. I have roughly split it into 3 sections. I'll be going through the big picture of AI, the ethics, and how AI works in a very, very nutshell way. And then I'll go into what I call the background of our way. So how we came to be doing things like we're doing, and then a little bit of the learnings from that journey. But before I go to that journey, I would like to tell about my journey a little bit. I feel that I'm going to be talking quite a lot about myself. Sorry about that, but I think it's a good way to kind of intro the topic into AI. So this is me. I started doing digital art in 1990s with text mode graphics. Time before internet, when screens were black, not white. Times when their Windows 3.1 was just the newest operating system running on MS-DOS. And this was the kind of art I was doing for those bulletin board systems back then. Those skills managed to land me a job doing pixel art. Okay, so now I'm not putting blocks of text next to each other on a text mode, but I'm putting pixels one by hand. Fun times. And then from there, I went to doing art like this. So doing 3D art. This is actually one of my personal projects. I tried to do one of these illustrations per day for the whole year. I think I managed to get to the day 50 and then I got bored, but something. And then from year 2022 onwards, I started doing more and more AI art. So these are the kind of early examples of what I did at 2022 with AI. I was doing t-shirt designs, I was doing book illustrations, and so on and so on. It feels like it's an eternity ago, but it was like 3 years ago. Very kind of early stuff on AI front. And then all of that evolved to me being able to do also that same stuff professionally at Rovio, and using those skills of making AI be useful for the products that we're doing. Here's one example of a season pass background done with AI. And then I kind of personally started venturing more and more towards using AI also to make stuff like small programs that were making my life easier and help me process information faster, like this trend predictor that I vibe coded in a half an hour during a meeting. It goes through RSS feeds and use LLM to make summaries of the trends that it picks. So if I would have to summarize my own journey, the only thing constant throughout my journey has been change. Because first there was internet. It changed everything. Nothing was same again after the internet became mainstream. Then there were mobile phones. Again, like it might be hard for people to even imagine the time before mobile phones, but yes, I'm that old. Then there was social media. Again, huge paradigm shift. Everything changed. Everything changed in the gaming industry as well. A lot of gaming companies that were used to be doing social small games for Java phones, feature phones, started doing Facebook games. Huge shift. And as an artist, which I'm at least partially still, I had to go from 16 colors on MS-DOS text mode to 8-bit to 32-bit to 3D and eventually to AI. And nothing on my journey and during my time in the industry, no change, none of those change has been as big as the one that we are facing right now. And to make it even more scary, and I admit that it's a little bit scary, is that we're only looking currently at the very tip of the iceberg. So we're still experiencing AI in its infancy. We're still talking about text generation, image generation, reasoning models, and video generation. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. We have just about on the surface, we have things like app generation. We have things like AI agents. Now they're coming mainstream already. We have things like world models like Genie 3 from Google. We have spatial AI. We have agentic organizations starting to emerge. And then we have a lot of things that we don't even have words yet to describe. And that's one of the things why I think it's also super hard for us to even be talking about or debating about what's yet to come, because we don't have even the concepts for that yet. And somewhere down the line, you also have AGI and ASI. So artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence. And AI companions and AI doubles. But if you go a little bit deeper, still a little bit deeper, you have things like that you have to really think about, like what about these things? Like will our paradigms and those things that define what we do, will those survive these things? Like design loop compression. When an iteration is no longer 1 week or 2 weeks, but it's 1 hour or 2 hours. Or when the iteration loop goes even smaller. What about if Genie 3 develops into something that is more closer to metaverse or holodecks? It feels like science fiction, but the technology is already kind of going to that direction. Self-emergent applications. I think people at Nokia were talking about these already in 2005 or so. But then it was just hypotheses and theories. So apps that actually emerge out of your need rather than you having to actually go an app store and download them. Then there's things like general purpose robotics, extreme market saturation, artificial superintelligence. And what I think all of this kind of leads to is the emergence of post-scarcity economics. And those things that we don't talk nearly enough. What are the economical implications when nothing is scarce anymore? And this is the way I'm kind of summarizing how I think we should be approaching this challenge. Personally, I'm saying this to my organization and everybody I meet and everybody who dares to listen, that we really need to act now. AI technology is already powerful enough to realize nearly everything we have ever imagined. If there's something that AI can't do, it's not because of the lack of AI technology being ready enough. It's because we're missing some of the very last century engineering around the AI. And even more so, we're lacking the processes and human component. Our processes and ways of working are not AI ready. We are not AI ready. People change a lot slower than the technology does. But personally, why I say that we need to act now is that that's the best way we are able to be ready for the future that is yet to come. We should at the same time be very tactical and use the currently available technologies because it improves our understanding of those technologies that are yet to come. That's the best way we can get ourselves and our organizations ready for the big change that is yet to come. Because this is the thing, AI is truly becoming the most transformative change any of us have had to live through in our lifetimes. It's going to be paradigm shifting, big change. And depending on how you see AI and how you feel about AI, you can see it as something that is full of scary things. I'm scared at AI sometimes. I have to admit it. I'm not an AI bro. I'm a creative who has been just studying AI out of necessity and curiousness. But I might be leaning on the other side where I see AI as this road full of opportunities. Because for me, all the fields I've been involved, like gaming industry, entertainment, all of those have been kind of stagnated. And while the doing things the same way all over again feels safe and brings us comfort, when there's change, it's always an opportunity. But when the change happens, especially a change this big, it also comes with problems. And how I think about it, that we also have to find ways of dealing with the fears and concerns. We have to be able to talk about the big elephant in the room, sometimes pink elephant in the room. We have to be able to talk about those things that are not comfortable. Things like the ethical use of AI, the IP rights, the copyrights, whether it was right to scrape the whole internet and use it as a training material, whether we should have more regulation on AI, whether we should start doing something in the politics that are getting us ready for the time when the big AI change happens. Because we don't really have alternatives. I know this sounds dull and people repeat this, but we really don't have any alternatives because there is no going back. once you let the genie out of the bottle, like it already has been done, there is no going back. You can't put it back to the bottle. AI change, this big thing, it will happen whether we like it or not. And to make it worse or better, I don't know, over 90% of our competitors are already using it. I was using this slide in my GDC talk, and people came to me like, where did you get that data from? Very good question. I pulled it out of my ass. But I also talked in GDC with all the major studios, all the art directors, all the people who are providing them the tools for AI usage. And all of them confirmed this number to be right. Actually, what I found out that this number could be just as well 99. The thing about why I put there that 10%, there is also those studios that out of fear of backlash, they are putting restrictions on can you use AI in our IPs and so on and so on. But even often in those cases, you have employees who are using AI without telling it to their employer. That's the most reckless and dangerous way of using AI. So the change is inevitable. And I think we owe it to ourselves, our people, our players, to find the ways of adapting and exploring how to deal with this change. The change is not some distant future. It's happening right now. And in a way, you could also think of it that if you wait long enough, it will also appear in all the tools you're already using. One of my favorite tools, AI tools, is Photoshop. It's horrible if you try to generate anything with it, but it's great for removing artifacts from your already generated images, expanding them, separating them on layers, and getting it for animation ready. So eventually all of us have to find our own way of dealing with this change. And we at Rovio and in my teams, our way was really built on this one important thing that we're not here to do the cheapest games. We are here to do the best games. So our whole focus was that not how we do what we're doing, but faster, but how can we get faster to the point where we're actually doing a better product for our fans by using AI in the process. So what was the journey towards finding our way? First, we laid some ground rules. Use only proprietary materials for training. So we wanted to be as ethical as possible. We wanted to keep our data safe, so we decided to do everything locally. So running AIs on our own machines, our own desktops, and our own servers. And we also try to instruct our teams to use it ethically and respect other people's IPs, even avoiding infringement also in the prompts. So nothing like do it in Pixar style. We just wanted to be more ethical than that. And after that, we went and did the obvious. What is the obvious, you might ask? We did what everybody does. We started from where everybody starts. We started from absolutely wrong place. Everybody who is trying the capabilities of AI often starts from the main character. That's the first thing you try to do, and then you realize that AI is actually not very good at doing this. This was actually a data set for our first AI proof of concepts. We were feeding it lots and lots of data. Back then, you didn't do fine-tuning, but you retrained the whole model. We tried it. And yeah, it kind of was recognizable, but it was horrible. Really, really awkward images. So the thing is that, especially when you're dealing with an IP that is well loved by your fans, sometimes hated, but sometimes loved. Well, they care about our characters. It's just not enough to be recognizable. And being recognizable is actually really easy when you have this level of brand awareness, with somewhere between Disney and Frozen. We are recognizable even in the weirdest bootlegged copycat forms. You can treat our IP really, really badly and it's still going to be recognizable. And it's really recognizable also in the badly generated forms. But it's not enough to be recognizable. Because brand, for us and in general, is a statement of quality. It's a promise you make to your players and to your fans that everything that has the image of your character is a good quality product. You don't want to be breaking that. It's true for our Dream Blast. It's true for our friends. It's true for Angry Birds 2. It's true for our upcoming movie that is coming at the end of 2026 and has a lot of big name actors doing the voiceovers. That brings us to one very unique problem with Angry Birds. The thing is that also all of these are Angry Birds. And when you think about how AI works, it works in the realm and the limitations of language. It really doesn't make a big differentiations with these different varieties. And all of these, every instance, every iteration needs to be uniquely recognizable and authentic. We can't really have an average of these two. You can't have the ball-shaped character just suddenly have arms or legs. We've seen all the most horrible, misfigured Angry Birds out there when we've been doing explorations with this. And even though that this middle guy here might sometimes look that it's the average of these two, that's not how IPs work. And even with that guy, we go into very long lengths in making sure that the character is exactly as we want it to be. We go into very small details of every single detail. Every different aspect of the character is exact. That every expression is unique to that character. We don't want Chuck to look like Red or Red to look like Chuck. They have different characters, different kind of emotional ranges. We make sure that every single angle of the wing is just about right. It doesn't have extra fingers and it doesn't bend in a wrong way. We also make sure that the legs are shaped right and there's correct amount of toes. And every pose the character does is unique for this character. It's really important to us. And it's really important to our fans. If we don't do a good job, they will call us out. And that's why it's also important for our business. So, in a nutshell, our responsibility is not to fuck it up. We have to make sure that all the characters and other key brand assets stay on model. They don't slip on that ever. That the style and quality is consistent and the stories and narratives stick to the canon and honor the brand and the brand pillars. And this might come as a shock. I'm talking here about how AI is great and all, but for us, it also means that at least at the moment, I have instructed our teams not to use AI for the key brand assets. Don't use it for the characters. But on everything else, for all the non-brand essential asset, it can already help us so much. And how we are thinking about it is that by doing that, it enables our artists to put even more effort, even more time into those things that really matter, the characters, the emotions, and the storytelling. So, what were the other big learnings from our journey? So to summarize, maybe the last point is that AI is good for things where you don't need exact control. If you have a big target, it's easier to hit, like backgrounds. If you have a tiny target, it's really, really hard. It's even hard for us manually, for artists with a lot of experience, it's really, really hard. So having full control for the characters is important, but we can be more flexible for things like new locations. We also learned that we don't need to be flexible on the quality or style. We can make tools that keeps those consistent. Here you have data set, and here you have unedited generations from our proprietary models. We also learned not to expect one-button solutions. It's actually funny sometimes that some people are disappointed because it's one button and you don't have control. And then there's other camp that are disappointed that it's not one button, that you actually still have to work. But if you don't expect it to be one button, miracle, magic tool, it's already starting to be pretty good for many users. We also learned to accept certain level of randomity, and when we were moving towards having our ready tools, at the very beginning, everything was random. It was really, really hard to work with these tools. But then we also learned how to kind of iteratively move towards what we wanted. And we also learned how to lock the seed and really work iteratively and in a more artistic way on these things. So in more detail, how it works is that you might have something like this as an initial generation. If you would put that into a game, like, yeah, it's AI slob, it's not good enough quality. It has artifacts, you would at least need to edit them out. But we also learned that you don't necessarily have to edit them out. You can improve your prompt. You can always go back to any image that you have generated and just keep on working on that same seed and modify the prompt. So it's maybe hard to see from there, but in this initial image, I've identified few things, few artifacts. And instead of asking the AI to remove them, I add to my prompt something that tells what should be in their places in the image. So I take the original prompt, the original seed, and add that there could be a rock on the left side of the image. And now there is a rock on the left side of the image. And then you identify an opportunity. I want something more on the floor of the forest. And again, you'd have to imagine, you have to work on your storytelling and ideation and think of like what could be there on the ground. And you're like, hey, it would be great if there would be autumn leaves. And it adds the autumn leaves there. But it often also introduces new problems. There's this weird thing that I can't understand what it is, some kind of an artifact. But again, instead of asking it to remove it or going prematurely to Photoshop to edit it out, I just add to my original prompt something that could be there in its place. So I'm often telling that I'm channeling my inner Bob Ross, finding those happy accidents from the image. And here I ask that there's poison ivy growing up the tree trunk. And now I have something that is less random than the previous one. And again, you repeat, rinse and repeat. You identify opportunities and you identify problems. You find ways of being more precise with your prompting to have more precise outcomes. And this is how you worked with the last year's models that weren't yet edit models like Nano Banana. And we weren't really that we can work very, very iteratively, even with this pretty old and not perfect technology. Nowadays, there's also tools that allow you to start from if you have a great starting point, like that image that I had generated with the other technology. We also learned that we can control the style extremely well. It's always a combination of the fine-tuning models and your prompting. And here's from the same exact seed, different flavors, different styles for different games, small changes. And we learned that we can also templatify these things. Once we have figured out that this asset looks like a great for our card collection, for example, we can just templatify the use case and the workflow and generate as many assets as we want. And we can also take those assets that we then generated and feed them to the next workflow and just have them animated and so on. It's scary sometimes. And this is how it works. You start with your first image. You might take it to another place to expand it, and then you turn it into a video. Simple as that. Sometimes you can also do it with one shot. This actual just screen capture of me generating random TikTok dances advertising our games. Let's give them a little while to complete. And there.
You can download the game for free now. What's up, guys? I'm so excited because I'm partnering with Angry Birds to launch their new mobile game. What's up, guys? Hey!
And so on. To spoil the fun, like all of those were kind of usable. The thing is that you have to also recognize that sometimes you can get away with a lot less restrictions if you don't do it with your IP in the first place. So humans, actual advertisement materials, and so forth, the target is this huge. It's much easier to do than our characters. We also learned that AI can be used for other things than generating new assets. I think this is one of the kind of miraculous time savers that we can take our in-game assets that are in the resolution of 1512 by 1512, and suddenly we have 32K by 32K print quality thing that we can print to the side of a skyscraper. And here's the kind of quality, that small dot on the red's beak. It feels like CGI. I remember still laughing at CGI, at that's never going to be reality. Well, that's never going to be reality, but this is already reality. And we, for example, we just put it into a Slack bot so you can drop an image and it will return 4 times higher resolution image out of it. Very usable. One of the most used use cases in our company. We also learned that you can take your creations that you created in image generators and you can use them to generate 3D. Still not perfect, getting better every day. This was at the start of the year. I think today we have already much better tools for this. We also learned that you can really breathe life back to your soulless characters that you generate with AI by giving them to actual animator who can breathe life and put the soul back into the characters. And for example, if we look at the in-game use cases we're often doing that step anyhow. So we're giving materials faster to our spine animators who can then animate and breathe life back to them. And from my point of view, and how I truly think about it, is that almost always the best result is when you're able to combine the work of an AI and artist. Here's an example from almost, 10 months ago. The background is generated with our proprietary stuff. The Yeti character is generated with our proprietary materials. But the characters are hand-painted based on our character guidelines and animated by an animator. We managed to get the time from roughly 5 weeks to roughly 1 week for this type of content. So you have to really pick the right tools for the right job. You have to learn where AI is good and where it's not needed. You have to learn where AI will cause more problems than it will solve. And you have to learn how to use the right tools in the right way. Every single model, you have to learn how to prompt a little bit differently. You probably have to generate around 100 images before you fully understand how that model works. You can't be prompting Flux, Schnell, the same way that you're prompting Nano Banana or Seedream or Hydream. All of those models have different biases and different ways of working. We also learned this one really important thing, that it really takes an artist to use this technology. It really takes an artist to review the outputs. It's hard even for us to evaluate and validate whether the assets that are done are high enough quality. So to get anything extraordinary out of these tools, you really need an artist with a high level of understanding of what makes visuals work. Things like details about layouts or names of different layout types, because often we're working with language models. You need artists that have vast understanding of art concepts and vocabulary and linguistics. So for many of us, it also means that we will have to upskill ourselves to be able to use this technology in a good way. We also learned one very important thing. Technology truly changes faster than people do. The challenge we're facing is not technological. It's in the way we think and how we operate. Because tools and technologies don't really matter if your people don't know how to use them. They don't matter if your people don't want to use them. And they don't matter if your people don't know what to use them for. This is the real challenge. The biggest challenge is helping our teams to understand how to go beyond what they're already doing. How to upskill themselves, get themselves ready for the big change yet to come. And to achieve something truly extraordinary. Personally, I'm excited about this because I'm I'm itching when I'm thinking about what is that extraordinary new types of entertainment, new types of advertising, new types of creatives, new types of everything. That is what I'm truly excited about. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, so a few questions here. First, Barbara wants to know, how long does it take for Rovio to adapt new AI API features you want to use in your internal system? Is it the waiting that's holding you back?
We are adapting quite fast. We're constantly exploring new tools, new models. It doesn't take us long. Sometimes the longest is to get the legal approvals, but we have also worked hard with our legal and compliance teams on making it faster and more straightforward to be able to use newer tools straight from the bat.
And do you do some kind of education for your team about prompting by platform?
Yeah, we do a lot of that. We have weekly meetings of Ask Me Anything sessions where we have machine learning engineers and me talking to our teams and educating them about how to use this technology. And we have things like game jams and image jams and different kind of competitions where we're encouraging people to explore what they can do with this tech.
And someone asks, art-wise, all previous technological leaps before AI allows you to be faster and of more quality while still having full agency of the process. Do you feel like AI has changed that?
To some degree, yes. And to some degree, no. I do think that if you still want to have full control, there is already starting to be those tools that give you the full control. But it also gives you a new opportunity that many people miss, is that you can also, in the age of AI, sometimes generate 100 of something and pick the best one out of the 100 instead of meticulously just working on one iteration and iterating it until it's perfect. And this is like a mind thinking shift that some people will have hard time struggling with. But yeah, it's kind of gonna be changing it too.
Something like going from a craftsman to a curator, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't feel right also. But I also do think that there's room for everything. I do believe that like AI is not gonna be replacing human expression, the true art. Personally, I do make a big difference between art assets and entertainment and art. AI has no place in art, but in entertainment that we are in, I think AI can be a superpower giving a tool for us.
Cool. Something I think a lot of people in this room will be interested in. Can you please elaborate on your tool stack and team setup to keep AI localized?
Yeah, so we have mainly homegrown stuff. One thing about AI that I think everybody should understand is that most of the technology is open source. So you don't necessarily have to build everything from ground up. If you look at the state of the art tools of AI, almost every single one of them is based on open source technology. Even if you look at scenario or layer, like they have all the same models that you can also run on your desktop. The thing that you're not getting when you're running it on your desktop is the fancy user interface. So our tech stack is mostly open source and some proprietary stuff.
Got it. And any third-party AI solutions you guys are using, or strictly the open source code and local computers?
Strictly open source and proprietary stuff. Nowadays also you can vibe code a lot of stuff on top of open source, and that helps a lot.
How soon, if ever, do you think AI will fully be able to match the quality of output that an artist can bring to a brand like Angry Birds?
I think we are already seeing that the quality is indistinguishable. And one thing that I kind of forgot to say, but one thing that I say to my teams at Rovio is that if you can tell from the end result that it was AI made, it's not good enough. It's a quality issue, not the issue of what tool was used. The same thing with the early stuff on CGI and 3D. Like if you can see the polygons, like you probably should go and work on it a little bit more. You need to subdivide it one step more so that you can see the polygon edges. It's the same thing. You have to always go for the quality that is at least on the par of your manual stuff. And we've already reached that. And sometimes we're improving the quality of our products, improving the quality of our creatives with the help of AI.
Gotcha. And how big is the internal AI team, the ones who implement features?
Very small. Well, we're not that big of a company anyhow, but we have maybe 3-4 machine learning engineers plus me, and plus champions in different teams and people that we're kind of extending the team with by bringing the people from the game teams and marketing teams to be part of that exploration. And actually the marketing teams have been the best ones. Somehow the marketing is always pressured by time, and they are taking all these tools with open arms. So that's been great.
Yegor wants you to know that you killed it, and wants to know if the presentation was made by AI.
Unfortunately not. I still haven't found a good way of doing presentation with AI. So I still do my presentations myself, and I just love PowerPoint quite a lot. So
Understood. And just the last one here. Do you truly believe people are against the slopes with AI? Have you seen TikToks where a pug saves a child and carries it by hand to an island? Millions of views. Any comments there?
yes, up. Yeah, I think people don't necessarily, like, the big audiences don't care. And for us as well, like if you think about Angry Birds fans and the audience and players of our games, those are totally two different audiences. We have the fans of the IP, and they're not players of our games. So that's why, like, also they will probably never see any of the creatives we do unless they go and dig them up from some dashboards. So I think the big part of the audience is they just don't care. I wish it would be different. I really don't like the AI slob look.